Hey everybody, welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
And I'm Russ.
And we are joined by Mr. Mike Coffey himself from Coffey Custom Builds.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And very stoked for this show tonight.
Me too.
Yeah. We got a cookie in the house.
Yeah.
Nice, beautiful Redwood cookie. We got 2 spindles.
2 spindles, multiple bow ties.
Multiple
or Dutchmans,
bow ties.
or butterflies, whatever you want to call it. It's regional, apparently.
Yeah.
Incredible. And Mike is going to talk with us about his tips for production woodworking with Origin.
Cool.
Before we get started, same announcements as normal. You know, we have Q&A going in the chat. We've got Ted in the chat today answering your questions via text live. Any questions that Ted can't answer, he'll send to us at the end of the show, especially since we've got Mike here today. Make sure you ask any questions that you have for him, because we've got this like special hotline to Mike today, which is awesome. We also have the giveaways that we do at the end of the show for everyone watching live. And to enter that giveaway, we're going to have a poll question pop up on your screen halfway through the show. So not yet. We know it kind of covers the screen sometimes, so we're going to do that halfway through the show during our mid-show product announcements, and we've got a couple of those today as well, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But let's dive into it. So what are we here to cut today? Let's start with that.
This is a salvaged redwood cookie. It has, from the drying process, it has some cracks in it, checks in it. So,
Yeah, let's go to that overhead cam.
Yeah, you can see here, this is from the drying process. You're just getting cracks and checks. The moisture leaves the end grain so much faster than the face grain or edge grain, and you just get cracking in here. It's just something you almost can't avoid. I deal with a lot of these because we have a project we do with a client where we do a bunch of these every month. So we've gotten a science of using the Origin to help us get these bow ties in here in the most productive way we can, because I do own and run a production shop.
That's a great segue. So that's why we have this redwood cookie in here today. Mike, you run Coffey Custom Builds.
Correct.
Which is a production shop.
Correct.
Could you just tell us a little bit about that and what that's like, your work with wood and what you do on the day-to-day?
Yeah, so part of my company is a production shop. We do furniture pieces for residential and commercial clients, but we also do production runs for commercial clients and national retailers. So one of those products that we do is, like I said, is a redwood cookie for a national retailer, and this is just one of the many products we do that we do many multiples of every month and every quarter for. So the Origin has become a really great production tool for my shop. We have a couple of them in the shop, and they just work really well for us, and they help us keep churning out this product with repeatable accuracy every single time. It's fantastic, so we love it.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we just do a lot of pieces. I mean, really in my shop, time is money. It's like that in a lot of places, but in my shop, really time is money. Finding the most effective processes and procedures to knock out these pieces and have the same quality every single time is super important, and Origin helps us attain that. So
I think without further ado, we should just cut one bow tie
we're here.
and let it rip.
Let's make this happen.
So we've got 3 to do total today. We've got 1 in this crack, 2 in the bigger crack on the other side. We already set up for this before the show. That's the beauty of plate, which is once you have this universal template already set up, it's ready to rock. And Mike, we're going to let you kind of take it away on this one.
Right on. Sounds good. I'm actually signed in on this Origin, so it's got all of my files in here already. I've already put the plate where I want it to be. The reticle is set where I want to put this bow tie. So here we rock and roll, I guess. Anything else?
All right. Yeah.
Jump right into it.
Don't forget to flip the reticle, which you did. Don't forget to Z-touch.
Right.
Right. That's the thing that we always forget in
what
the
else?
hot set.
Turn on the vacuum.
Turn on the
push all the buttons. And then I let my hands go. It does it itself, right?
Yeah, it does
okay,
itself.
Cool. Right
completely.
on. All right, let's
sweet.
Earmuffs.
So
you can say anything when there's earmuffs on. It's fine.
Jake and I are going to step off to the side here just so we don't get blown out on the audio, and Mike's going to let
Let's get one cut here. All right, so I'm setting an inside tool path right now. This is set to an 1/8 inch bit. We're going to go to a 1/4 inch bit. We're going to Z off real quick here. Good to go. All right, let's get in here. I got my depth set to 0.91 inches. Auto pass is on. Let's see what our passes are at. That is just fine. We're going to go at 1/4 inch depth per cut. I'm going to start with an inside profile cut here. I'll clean up the inside, and then I will do a pocket to clean up what's left over, if there is anything. I think there will be.
Nice. So it sounds like he's diving in for the auto pass first instead of a pocket, which I like, especially for the smaller butterflies.
Yeah, absolutely. Clear out a lot of that with that kind of online style as an inside cut. But when you're doing those inside cuts, Origin is going to follow that path rather than a pocket where, you know, Origin acts more just like a plunge router and then does that auto correction as you reach the boundary of that pocket.
Nice.
And the beauty of AutoPass here is that there is no pausing to stop and reset your depths as you go around. So Mike's got his final target depth that he's going to and his final target offset. So he's going to just keep cruising around until he hits that final depth and offset, and then go back and hit that pocket and just blast out all the rest of that material real quick. And we're going to talk definitely more about this later, but thinking of production wood shop, time is money. You really want to make the most of that time. Especially with, you know, one trade-off with Origin is that it's a handheld CNC router, so you do have your hands on it all the time.
Yeah. Then you bring plate into the situation, and it's just, especially in a production environment, you're just throwing it down and cutting. No scanning, no gridding. You're just ready to run. Sounds like he's knocking those little pillars loose that are left over. And he's got two things going for him, too. It is Redwood, which is relatively soft, and it's all end grain, so all those wood fibers are just cutting like butter.
So I like to do these first with a 1/4-inch bit or one of the larger 8mm hogging out bits, depending on the size. With the 2-inch bow ties, I can't really do much more than a 1/4-inch bit because it won't get between the thinner center part. So with this, I'm going to be done with the 1/4-inch bit, and I want to use an 1/8-inch bit. And we found, for productivity reasons, am I good to jump into this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Swap that spindle.
So we just swap spindles. And it sounds like buying another spindle, I mean, really time is money with these jobs, and we're doing so much of these things that it makes sense. The investment makes sense. So we just have a 1/4-inch bit loaded on this spindle, and we keep an 1/8-inch bit on another spindle. And that is always ready to go, so we can just be flying through these as fast as we can. And now it's locked in,
So cool.
and we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna fire up this next one, get
Right
this
on.
final pass done. You guys
Sweet.
good? All right, let me
Yeah.
Z off and
Let
get
it rip.
going here. So.
Always do a Z-touch.
So this is the fun thing for us, and this is why we had Mike on today. We have not done this before, the spindle swap on the show, but as of this week, we're selling spare parts in the Shaper Tools online shop. That includes spare spindles. That includes any kind of part that you might want to swap out on Origin. We have the Gen 2 finger guards on there, for example. We've got Gen 1 parts as well. We've got any plate part that you might want to hot swap in, and we've got workstation parts all available on the Shaper Tools accessory site. And we've been working with Mike this way for a little while. We made a spindle exception there for this production process for him. But, you know, now that this is open to everybody, we wanted to share this with the world. It can really speed up your production time if you're doing a lot of work with multiple cutters.
Sweet.
Let's swap over to that overhead cam.
Yeah. So this file, this bow tie file, pretty standard file for bow tie, but what I did is I actually don't cut the male plugs on my Origin. I have a large CNC machine that we cut those out on. We found that that's very fast. And we cut it out with an 1/8-inch bit, and we want this inside radius to match the 1/8-inch bit radius so that we can't get a square because we're using a round cutter. So we get as small of one as we can get possible, and that's with an 1/8-inch bit. We could go down to a 32nd or a 16th, but they'd be cutting such small amounts of material, it'd be a nightmare. So 1/8 inch is the compromise. So we have this, and fits right in.
Incredible.
Beautiful.
So
That's awesome.
we're good to go there, and that works, and it just works great. We just can knock these out quickly. I can do 3 to 6 of these on a cookie in minutes. It's amazing.
Yeah, I
So-
love the predictability and repeatability there. That's what
exactly.
it's all about.
Yep. Cool.
So you mentioned that you have a CNC machine. This
Correct.
is something that I was really interested in talking with you. Where Origin fits into your workflow compared to where the CNC machine fits into your workflow, and especially kind of how you came to the Origin world, because you had the CNC machine first.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I was pricing up this project, trying to figure out the processes and the procedures for this, and I actually reached out to Shaper Tools and was like, hey, I think this might be a fit for this project. So we did this by hand, we did it with the CNC, and I wanted to try it with the Origin. By hand, we can actually do them pretty quick. Making hand-cut bow tie mortises on end grain is pretty fast. I mean, you just route it out and clean it up with a chisel. It's actually pretty quick. I think once you're getting all the setup figured out with the CNC, I actually think hand cutting it with a trim router is faster than the CNC. The CNC, we're having to home these things, and because these cracks are organic cracks, they're not linear cracks, positioning them where we wanted was getting difficult. Because we had to home we'd home the machine and put it in different spots. Setting up took almost 2 times longer to cut the mortise pockets than it did with the Origin, is what it ended up being. So once I got to test it and try the machine out, it was blowing both of the other options out of the water. So we were like, oh, okay, this is the way we do this. And that was just before plate had come out. Once plate came out, it was like, oh yeah, this is way faster, because we have our workspace set for the different bow tie sizes, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 inch, and we just switch between workstations depending on the bow tie size we're going to use, and we just go from there. It's so fast. It's just so quick. It's amazing.
Sweet. And I've seen on Instagram, now that you have Origin, you're using it like all around the shop to do all kinds of stuff.
I mean, yes, we can use it for cool shop fixtures. We're using it for door hinges, mortising work, stuff for doors. We use it all the time. It's great. They both get used all the time. Between me and Sean, we have them going every single day. It's amazing. We love the tool. It's great. So, I mean, it's a handheld CNC for the most part. I mean, we can
That's what
rely
we call
on it.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's dependable. We know that. I mean, it doesn't always make sense to take the piece to the tool. Sometimes you just want to take the tool to the piece, and it just excels at that. So, it's amazing.
Right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'd love to take a step back and just hear about how you got started with woodworking in general also,
Sure.
because I think we haven't talked about this. You know, we were talking earlier today at lunch, and I'm just curious about your background as a woodworker.
So I'm pretty new to woodworking. I mean, I started within the last 5 years, and it was my hobby before this was very different. I was into motorcycles, and when my son was born, there wasn't really any time for that. There was no time I couldn't like hop on my bike and go for long rides anymore. It didn't make any sense. So sold my bikes, and after about a year, I was like, I need a hobby. I do not like sitting around. I just don't like it. It just drives me nuts sitting around. So I looked for a hobby. I went and took some blacksmithing classes. I didn't really like the heat, and then I took some woodworking class. I did some woodworking stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just a absolute rabbit hole for me. So I got into woodworking, and it's just been almost an addiction, but it's a passion. It's just such a passion for me. I love it. I've never had an activity in my life that brings this much, and now I get to do it for a living. It's pretty wild. So yeah, I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. I started making stuff for friends and family, and then I started being like, oh, I could sell this stuff and buy new tools, and then I started buying more tools, and I started really tooling up, and then I was able to take on more commissions, and that started becoming a business, and then fortunately I get to do this for a living. So
Yeah, you really
lucky.
blew up in that short amount of time too.
Yeah, it's been really, really wild. The last 2 years, when I went full time 2 years ago, and it was that was crazy. So it's been nonstop ever since, which I love. I'm very fortunate for that. So
Right on.
Yeah.
just a lot of work, which is great.
That's really awesome. It might be a good time now, actually,
To see that
for the coffee shop tour.
Cool.
So a little introduction to this. We've been doing shop tours every show this year. Every time someone sends us a shop tour and we play it on the show, we've also been sending them a little something. So we've sent out a lot of brass barbell kits, a lot of our favorite router bits. If you want to send us a shop tour and win a prize, just send that to sessions@shapertools.com. That's our email address. And, we're looking for something 2 to 4 minutes, just a quick video around the shop. A little bit of narration is ideal.
It's always nice.
We love that.
Or we're going to talk over it.
you never know what we're going to say. Landscape orientation is ideal. You got portrait, you got landscape. Everybody's doing portrait with the phone. The wide one. Yeah. Like you're looking at a hilly, landscape scene.
Yeah.
And, just record that. It doesn't have to be edited. Your shop can be a mess, as you might see, Your
Right?
shop can be
Mine is thrashed
no
at all
shade,
times.
but your shop can be big. Your shop can be small. We've had shops the size of sheds. Just send us a shop tour video. We love to see them. Without any further ado, Ned, let me know. Are we ready for that shop tour video? All
Let's
right,
do it.
let's play that.
Here is the shop. It is a unmitigated disaster right now. It kind of always is like this. This is a production shop, so we got a table we're finishing up, conference table, a media console. That's going to be a media console, believe it or not. But here's kind of the shop breakdown. Everything's broke down in the shop right now, but we got our table saw here, planer, miter station back there, pan router cart. We've got the tool island back there. We got a big bandsaw, the everyday use bandsaw, the medium duty dual head drum sander. Back behind the big bandsaw is a shaper, the big cutter head shaper. Dust collection's in the back corner. And then sweeping around over here, we've got the jointer, edge sander, there's a disc sander there, and a spindle sander, believe it or not. There's just a bunch of stuff on them. Like I said, it's a real mess. We're in the middle of a bunch of stuff. We kind of always are, it's just always busy. We got our sustainer cabinets over here. Those are all full up with sustainers. And then here's our shaper tool workstation. We've got the cabinet here I recently made with the holds the two plates and all the paraphernalia for that. And then we've got the two origins here. And here's our workstation. And we do a lot of our assembly here. Right now it's just a real mess. We've been in the middle of doing a lot of projects. It's kind of always the case here. Going over to this other building, we've got our laser room. I've got a bigger CO2 laser here and a smaller fiber laser here. We're kind of getting that set up right now. Right here, it's a disaster, but the old CNC that we currently have is going to be going here. And that's actually moving this next week because a new CNC will be going where the current CNC is. So we'll be getting a new CNC in the shop and some new dust collection for both buildings as well. So I'm getting that all figured out right now. We have a plan to move. The air compressor is going to go over here. The new CNC requires all that. So we're in like a bit of a transitional period right now, but it's always kind of a mess in here. I'd be lying if I said it was ever really super clean. We get it cleaned up every couple of weeks, but ultimately within about 10 days, it always looks like this. So we're always just breaking down a lot of stuff. We've always got a lot of stuff going on. So that's a quick and dirty tour of the Coffey Custom Build Shop. There is a spray booth over here. We do all of our, well, not all of it, but a lot of our spray finishing in there. And then out here, you can see this shipping container, and that is where all the lumber is stored for future projects. We leave it in there because we're usually booked out a few months. I order up the material, we store it in there, and then it's brought in to the shop to sit for us to, we let it sit in here for a couple weeks, then we rough mill it and usually stack and sticker that. So that is a quick tour of the Coffey Custom Build Shop.
Sweet.
That's a
Awesome.
cool space.
That's such an awesome shop.
It's a disaster.
That's the best
I
part.
can't believe you guys shared that.
Here's what I love about it. Here's what I love about it, which is, you know, when there's that much going on in a space, you can tell that it's active.
Yeah.
You know, and this is honestly a stretch of a segue. Our website just got a lot messier with the spare parts.
Yeah.
This is our mid-show. This is our mid-show announcement, and I'm trying to bridge everything together here.
You did it.
Just
You did it.
before we get back into just questions with Mike, let's pull up the poll question, by the way, because Jake and I are just going to be kind of blabbing about the spare parts and everything that we just added to the website, right?
Yeah.
So while we're talking about this, answer that poll question, which is, who do you want to see next on Shaper Sessions? We love having guests. We've had a couple guests this year. We would love to have more. Let us know who you want to see. And enter to win that giveaway. We're giving away some Kyle Verbinder connector sets, long time coming.
Yes.
So
which
What
you
are
can,
those?
Yeah. Those are the
thanks for the question, Mike.
You're welcome.
brand new connection system that you can now buy on our store. We did a session a couple shows
Almost
back.
2 months ago
Almost
now.
2 months ago. So now you can buy them, and they're awesome. So we're going to be sending out 2 sets of those today at the end of the show.
Yep.
They're very fun. Do you want to show off what you've done with them?
Yeah. So this is just like a very small little example. This is a sign that I made for a ceramics pop-up that I did the other weekend. And if we go, let's go to Mike. This is like a pop quiz. I'm going to hand this over to you to show on the bench cam. You remember how those caliber benders work?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Why don't you put it in that camera
Okay,
right
right here?
there? Yeah.
You want like, is this good? It's hand
Yeah,
model?
that's perfect.
Okay.
Right there.
Oh, you mean these?
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
There we go. Beautiful. So these are individual little screw-on dovetail connectors, and they have a special dovetail slot that's cut with a special caliber bender dovetail bit. And I was kind of skeptical about these at first because we have a lot of flat pack connectors come through our shop, but these are my favorite so far.
Super cool.
That's why they're in our store. I can't get enough of these. You screw them onto the edge of a piece and everything is completely flat pack. These little dovetail keyholes feel almost like infinitely reusable. They just snap together so well every single time. We can't stop like fiddling with stuff when we
very
put them
snug.
together.
Yeah. We have them in everything from plywood to hardwood to hard density MDF from like force color.
You can
And-
adjust the tension on them by how hard you screw them in. So kind of no matter what depth you set the keyhole to, they're kind of adjustable that way. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that. And they come in not just one, but kind of two configurations. They have the short single connectors, and then they also have these long connectors. So I'm going to hold this one up to the origin cam here. You can see that long connector if you need more strength, or in this case, just some like some directional guidance.
Cool.
So love those. And
you heard us talking about 2 spindles earlier. You can now buy
I'll
your
take that back.
very own extra spindle along with a whole host of other parts, replacement parts for your origin, for your workstation, for your plate. It is a plethora of fix-it-yourself now on our website.
Yeah, we wanted to stand behind our things even more. Not that we didn't before, but we had to fix them all for you. And
Right.
I love fixing stuff at home, and we wanted to enable you to fix stuff at home. You don't want to have to send your stuff to us every time it needs a little tune-up, you know?
And honestly, it happens. You accidentally plunge into a reticle, or you skim the side of your support bar in your workstation, and if you just want to replace that, now's your chance.
Or you have a production run of 1,000 cookie tables
Yes.
that you need to crank out.
Yeah.
You need 2 spindles.
You're
A
gonna
guy
have
can dream.
incidents.
Yep.
Yep.
Sweet. So great. Let's pull that poll question down if it isn't already. Thank you, Ned. And just get back into some conversation. So back to the shop.
Okay.
I love the shop. Feels very active. What's next for Coffey Custom Woodworks?
I mean, we're just I'm constantly scaling right now. So it's this. We just had this conversation about growing the company constantly. It's just this thing that fortunate to be in that position, but it kind of detracts away from being able to make stuff all the time. So I have employees that do that. So we have employees, and I have that the employee count keeps going up, and we're just going after more and more stuff and more challenging projects and products and stuff. So it's a constant growth, and that means new machinery and new techniques and new stuff all the time. So
A lot of technology involved.
yeah, there's a lot of
in that,
technology.
right?
I mean, to do production, you need essentially robots now to be competitive. I mean, that's the bottom line. You need some sort of digital component to your shops. I mean, that's just super helpful for production shops. It's really hard not to be without that. So to get prices to be competitive, to be able to hit deadlines, to be able to get POs fulfilled on time, things like that, we need these machines that can help us do that. Also, sometimes you need things to be incredibly accurate, and you don't always have highly trained labor to be able to do it. And that means being able to hand off a tool that can bridge the gap of accuracy that lack of experience doesn't offer. So I have great employees. They're amazing. I'm very fortunate to have such great employees, but one of them specifically doesn't have any woodworking knowledge, and he has no experience in that. He operates the CNCs and the lasers, and I can set up a job in Origin and tell him, hey, it's under this job, set it up this way, and he can jump on the machine and start using it, and it will crush what he needs to get done. He'll get it done with it, and it'll be accurate to what I need it to be. It's pretty amazing. So
That's awesome.
We were talking about studio and how we can set depths in there. I can use AutoPass to set how deep the cut needs to be, all that kind of stuff. I can encode those depths and stuff into the actual job in the file in Origin. It's amazing.
So what does your workflow look like for that? Because I know you aren't designing kitchens full of cabinetry
Right.
in Studio,
No.
right? You're probably designing your furniture in a different piece of software.
Right.
just generally, everybody uses a different piece of design software. What softwares do you use?
I have Shaper 3D is a product I use a lot just because it's so mobile. I really like that. It has, I was using Fusion, but it's such a dense piece of software that I don't use a lot of it, and sometimes I get kind of lost in what I could use in there for stuff, so I kind of pulled away from that. I'll use that for rendering sometimes, but Shaper 3D, Fusion, Mosaic is one I use for cabinetry. That is mostly for kicking out G-code for the CNC machines. But that also has nice rendering in there too. And then Lightburn for the lasers, and Studio, whenever we're playing around in Studio for stuff to encode depths, and and Vectric and Aspire. So a Vectric's Aspire program, which is VCarve Pro.
And that controls your bigger CNC machines?
That controls the CNCs as well, yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but it has actually pretty decent 2D design in there for sketches. If you're trying to do a sketch, like it has really good tools for 2D sketching. So I'll use that sometimes to crank out a quick SVG.
Was this stuff that you had knowledge of prior, or is this in the last 5 years you've been learning?
Yeah, this is that stuff I had to learn. Like,
that's cool.
So when I decided to make the jump to purchase the CNC, that was a big investment for me at the time. It was scary. It was like a big, scary investment. And that was something that really kick-started things for what I was able to do for people. I wasn't doing the stuff I exactly wanted to build. Like, I wanted to just build furniture, but I was still able to do woodworking sort of adjacent stuff. I was able to do signs, and I was able to offer services to people locally where I could do slab flattening or cut parts out and do stuff like that. So that side of my business still exists. It's actually a big part of my business is cutting out parts. I have a lot of clients around the United States that we cut parts out for and ship out to them. So we do that now with the CNC. It just kind of runs in the background. I don't really share it much because it's super not fun to share. I mean, it's just kind of boring stuff. It's just a bunch of MDF being cut up or something like that, or plywood. It's just not very fun. So, but that's a viable business, and it's a part of my business. So, and we design those things. Oftentimes, those files will come to us pre-designed, but sometimes we'll find issues with their files, and we have to fix them for them and stuff like that. So
what was that journey like, learning digital design for the first time?
It was. I have this weird thing where I just kind of like, I have to do this, so I have to figure it out. And I don't really like get scared by that, but it was very hard. I had a very hard time with it. I had to, the way I learned my CNC machine was, and the software that went with it was, I made myself design and cut something every single day for like 4 months before it actually made sense.
Wow.
It took a while for me to make sense of it. Like I was watching videos nonstop, constantly just consuming, and I was still working a full-time job. So I was working my job, coming home, doing family stuff, and then I'd go into the shop and I'd work for hours at night just learning my CNC, trying to learn it. It was daunting. It was a lot. It was a lot of work. I would be like, okay, I want to figure out this joinery or some sort of shape or something, just simple stuff at the beginning. And then it got more and more tricky and trickier and trickier until I was like, oh, I actually understand what I'm doing. It really was months of me not even really understanding what I'm doing. Mostly imitation from what I'd see on the internet, really, and forums and stuff like that. And then eventually it clicked. I was like, oh, and then you start learning about 3D modeling, and then you start learning about different joinery methods you can do with the CNC, and it just like really unlocks all this stuff. And I mean, truth be told, I don't really enjoy running and operating the CNC. It's not really what I love doing, but it's such a powerful tool. It's really hard to avoid the value of it. So it just offers so much for what we do. So, I mean, for me, I'd rather just be sitting in the main shop, just making tables and chairs and stuff all day long. That's all I'd rather do. But
yeah,
it's not super viable. I mean, it's really hard to have a business on that.
Yeah, what's Mike Coffey's ideal day look like?
My ideal day is I answer some emails in the morning. I have a manager who runs my company's day-to-day. I own it, make the big decisions, and I just go make chairs and tables and furniture all day long. That's all I want to do.
What a dream.
Come down and hang out with some of my friends at some of the companies I work with. So, like stuff like this. This is my ideal day. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been a serious pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, it's great. I love coming down here. This is super great. It's really cool stuff down here.
So
can't talk about any of it.
We're not working on anything.
Yeah, I think that's going. We're just doing bow ties.
So you mentioned now you go from Shaper 3D to Shaper Studio. Shaper 3D is not a Shaper Tools product, by the way. That's a separate piece of software. But you go from Shaper 3D to Shaper Studio, and kind of how does that look? What happens in that workflow in the studio part?
It's simple. I mean, I'll just upload it into the hub and upload the SVG, the sketch SVG into the hub and bring it in, and it's real simple. I mean, it's just real easy to use. With a pre-draw, I'm just used to drawing in that program. That's where I draw. That's where everything starts for me is in Shaper 3D. That's more of a that's what I learned on kind of a thing, more than anything. But being able to encode depths and stuff, exporting that SVG out. I actually kind of a tangent, but that program actually used to have issues. The SVGs it would spit out would have issues with Origin. I think in the within the last few months they fixed it where it's no issues.
Awesome.
I used to have to actually export that out to Aspire, take that SVG and export that out to use it in the Origin.
The chain of tools.
It was ridiculous. And sometimes I could export it out to Inkscape or something like that. But anyway, right out of Shaper 3D, it goes into the Shaper Studio app. We can encode it, and then that's right in the machine as soon as I hit done. I mean, you just pull it out of the file in there from import, so it's so easy.
Yeah.
So, and
you were telling me something earlier about leaving notes in there as well.
yeah,
Occasionally.
We'll use the text key or the text tool to write depths in there, so there's no mistaking how deep people need, or how deep we need to cut files and stuff like that. So we leave all kinds of notes in there. Anytime we're working on stuff, when we set up a new workspace for a specific profile, we will put text in there as much as we can. So then if I design something, the next person going to work on it has everything they need on screen for them.
Yeah.
So we use that as like a communication tool, I guess. So.
I love this because you are not our typical Shaper Studio customer.
Right.
Our typical Shaper Studio customer is someone who's just getting started with digital design. They're in that like intimidation phase. They don't really know where to start. It's a very easy, we've designed it to be explicitly simple, easy to use digital design for craftspeople. But it's so awesome for me to hear that it has a place in this kind of higher tech workflow where it's still valuable for you even to take things out of the SVG that you already have from Shaper 3D, run it through Studio to make sure that it looks how you expect, pre-encode all of that information like depth and cut type, add the notes.
It goes back to my employee who doesn't do woodworking. You know, it was amazing. Like when it's really intuitive. I mean, it's really impressively intuitive. Being able to have the encoded depths in there and have someone who's really not familiar with the tool. I mean, he is now. Over time, he uses it often now, but he doesn't ultimately understand what he's doing, I should say. He doesn't understand like why he's making these cuts. But I tell him, set it up on this, use this file, and it's ready to go. It's basically self-explanatory. It's really impressive. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of making cuts, I think it would be a cool time to do those other two.
Sure.
Yeah, we got to finish
ties.
out this cookie.
Cool. Let's get it going. Yeah.
So we've done one. You're going to flip it
Flip it
around,
around.
do the two. I want to like say this very clearly. This is the whole reason why you got a Shaper Origin in the first place, right? It's because of this kind of organic layout.
Yep. Yeah, we wanted this. I need this. The locations of these bow ties to look as man-made or handcrafted as possible. I don't want these to look like they're processed. Even though it is processed by a robot, I want the human touch involved in these. I want them to look like a human being did this work.
That's the fine line we straddle.
Right. It's like I mean, you can tell. I mean, it's got the router bit rounded edge, but you know, you can pull back a foot, you can barely tell it's a rounded edge. So that's, you know, we got to do everything we can while still keeping production numbers where they need to be. So.
And you get to place them tastefully too.
Exactly.
You get to choose which bow ties go where.
Use the reticle, set it where you want it to go, and it looks. And you can set the angle of it and make it look how you want it. You can kind of, you know, you get a little bit of an artistic choice on that. So I mean, it's not a whole lot. It's a bow tie at the end of the day, but you get as much as you can get from a bow tie.
Sweet. So where are we going to put the other two?
Well, first we're going to flip this around. So we did a 2-inch on this side. We're going to put a 3-inch up here. We're going to swap out our spindle.
And now, important note, I was thinking through your process. You're going to do this whole bow tie and swap the spindle rather than keep the spindle and move plate, because you want to make sure that it stays in that exact same spot.
Yeah, if you lose your location, you're in trouble.
Right,
So
exactly.
you need to complete your operation at one point in time. You can't move the plate.
Because you might think you could save time
Right.
by doing all the quarter-inch cuts first
You're
and
not.
then going back for the
No.
1/8-inch cuts, right?
You are doing one drawing at a time. That is it. So let's get out of this workspace real quick. We're going to our 3-inch bow tie.
So this is the cool thing. All of these templates are already set up on plate, and all you had to do is just swap workspaces there.
That's it. They're already saved in my Shaper Hub. So
Yep.
it's good to go.
Beautiful.
We're going to 0
And we weren't watching the screen when you were doing this, but you were doing auto pass inside cuts.
Inside cuts, auto pass. We're going to 0.91. That's just the depth I go, but we did 0.91 inches, so 4 passes inside, and then I came out and I did a pocket to clean up. There's a little nub left behind. I'll do a pocket at full depth though. I'll do one full depth just to break it free. Yeah, just to get it out of there. So it makes that's the quickest process we've found for these. So do your inside profile, then do your pocket, and then you don't have to do that inside, or you don't have to do that pocket again with the 1/8 inch bit. All that material is gone. We're literally just using the 1/8 inch bit to get those corners as close to a straight line corner as possible, a linear corner instead of a rounded corner. That's our whole goal.
And are you an auto man in the corners? Do you hold auto down?
I do it manually. I like to just really put it in the corner and let the thing pull itself in. It's really slow.
That's why I ask, because sometimes you can really control that if you lead it, as you like to talk about. Leading it into the corner.
All right.
Okay,
We're ready to rock and roll.
leave you to it.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about Plate, again, is that all of those workspaces are stored, and anytime you want to go back to them, we're a big fan of saving and naming those workspaces so that you can find them and go back to them easily. Jake, we did a session on Plate Pro Tips, right? Or was it just the Plate Introduction where we kind of covered most of that Plate workflow?
Just the Plate Introduction. I mean, we did a whole show on it. You really start to understand the value of workspaces once you start working with Plate. It's all in there.
And Mike is using the reticle today to just kind of eyeball line up where those bow ties are going to be placed. But as you know from watching sessions, there are a lot of other ways that you can use Plate. You can use that front fence to align with an edge. For example, you might do that when you're installing a hinge into a cabinet case. You could also use the fence in combination with the side flags, which you might want to do when you're rounding a corner, for example, or maybe installing a piece of flat pack hardware, set repeatable distance from an edge. And you also can set up something like the vertical mortising attachment, which we've shown a couple of times for installing things like hinges on the sides of door panels.
Nice. Yeah, that vertical attachment, that's a project that you can download on Shaper Hub and make yourself. And allows you to really neatly clamp it to the edge of something. Maybe you got a door that's too big for workstation.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I love it. When you have things that you want to cut vertically, but they're too big for workstation, like, you know, we work with architectural hinges a lot here, huge doors, or what did we do recently? Some like bed frame hardware. That was a pretty solid one. I think Greg was working on that.
Yeah. Sounds like it's time for a spindle swap.
Key thing, like we said, is you're going to not want to move Plate. That's why we have the anti-slip mat on the bottom, really handy. And, you know, Mike's not clamping today. We should ask later if he's clamping Plate a lot of the time or not. We usually just go no clamps. I trust it.
As long as I get enough of that sticky surface on there, it's golden.
Sweet. Got that 1/8 inch bit in there. Definitely want a Z-touch every time.
Yeah, it's just good practice. Even though the spindle's returning to the same place, it's good practice anytime you take it in and out of the tool to Z-touch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's got a different tool length in there. You know, that could be pretty cool, though, actually, if you set up kind of a gauge block and set your tool lengths to exactly the same length. Or if you knew, for example, maybe that you could overcut one dimension rather than the others, you know, it wouldn't be a problem for this case, I think, if that 1/8 inch bit went a 1/16 of an inch past where the 1/4 inch bit's going,
That's true.
that bow tie is still going to seat exactly right where it needs to be. It's not going to go in too deep, which is kind of the pitfall of doing this kind of work. You never want that bow tie to be below your cookie surface.
Totally.
But always Z-touch unless you really have a clear picture of how you're sneakily getting around that. How's that feel?
Good. We did no offset this time. On the other one, I did -5 thou.
Okay.
This one is a much better piston fit on this one. So we probably could bring it out like 25
let's move
thou.
that origin a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, here. Probably could bring it out -25 thou or something, but
That's pretty
we don't
good.
need to. This is good. This is a good fit. This is what I'd want to see.
And we got the mallet.
Well,
Hey.
yeah. Well, I mean, the make it happen machine. So, let me set up for this. We're gonna do the 4-inch as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
let's
it.
just finish it up.
Let's get it done.
I like to, if you're not sure what your offset's going to be, always start at 0,
Yep.
test fit, just
Good
to
advice.
see, plus it gives you that dopamine, that satisfaction of like taking a couple thousandths of an inch of something off and having it fit perfectly and just seeing that difference.
So this is cool. Let's go to the overhead cam while you're doing this. And so you can see what Mike's doing. He's not only using the reticle to line up, but he's aligning that bow tie with the reticle to kind of visualize the whole situation.
Cool.
Looks good right there.
Yeah. Part in the sap, part in the heart. All right. I heard you talking about clamping. I don't clamp when we're doing plate for
Yeah.
these. We've never
Yeah.
had an issue ever. We've
Yeah.
never had it move. So the sticky, grippy, magic stuff on the bottom does just fine job. So
That's awesome. There's kind of two camps. There's the
Yeah.
clampers and the not. But typically clampers tend to turn into non-clampers over time as they get more comfortable with it.
I get it. It's if your plate moves, you're in a bad position. But it really has never. And we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these and never had an issue. Now we do clamp when we can, but
Right.
there's no real. The cookies we do aren't this size. They're 42-inch plus diameter cookies. That's not how big
really
these
not
are.
going anywhere.
They're not. I mean, they're just big cookies. They're not moving. So yeah. Anyway, it's a
This is a
different.
fun size cookie.
Yeah, this is adorable. So.
This is a made for TV.
This is the. Let's get a spot here where we can Z-touch. Oh, I guess this is the 2. I don't have to use the plate. This is different than what I'm used to.
Upgrade, baby.
Yeah, great.
So that is one
I
thing.
didn't tighten my.
Oh, that'll get
That's
you.
a fun one.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
see? Oh, look at that. Didn't tighten down the spindle. It's my first day. There we go. Try that again.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. Sweet. Love that.
Cool.
Cool. And as you're doing this, we've got a couple of questions that maybe you could just meditate on,
Sure.
Other places that you've used Origin for production in your shop. We were reading some comments while we were off screen, so we don't have to answer that right now. I think it would be great to just roll through this
Sure.
bow tie,
Let's get it done.
but something to chew on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Cool. I want to make sure one thing real quick here. Yeah, we're good. All right.
And everybody who's watching, make sure to ask those questions in the comments. Ted's gonna wrap all those up and send them to us. That's how we know what to ask, because Jake and I can't see the comments while we're doing this show. So make sure you ask and they'll get to us. For anybody watching this session on demand, because all of these sessions are posted to YouTube after the fact, if you want to take part in that live Q&A and in the giveaways, make sure to join us live every other Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific for Shaper Sessions. We do these live, and that Q&A and giveaway we do kind of live after the show. Everybody kind of hangs on for that part, but we do cut that for the YouTube just so it doesn't drag on and on. Make sure you join us live. And if you want to participate in the shop tour giveaway, anyone who watches at any time is welcome to email us at sessions@shapertools.com and send us one of those shop tours. That's not just for live viewers. We'll hit you up by email if we show your tour during the show and send that out to you. I know we have a couple thousand viewers on YouTube every show, and this is open to all. If you don't get to take part in the live Q&A giveaway, at least you can take part that way. Jake is You
A
made
ma-
me like trying to mouth to me, whisper. You might have heard the studio challenge. One other thing, of course. Yeah, how could I forget? Tomorrow's the last day to enter the Shaper Studio Design Challenge.
Yeah.
Great reminder. There's just so much going on. We always forget something every show.
Huge winnings, just like the box challenge that we did not too long ago. You could win a Shaper Origin, or you could, if you already have a Shaper Origin, first place, you win a equal value in Festool gear.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And here are the things. Studio challenge, what we're looking for. We're looking for most creative use of shapeshifter. We're looking for documentation. And we're looking for fabrication. So, not a necessity, but definitely a plus if you make the thing that you design. But you could also counterweigh that by having a really cool design and really good documentation. So, today's your last day.
Yeah, I think all of that information is available online at shapertools.com/challenge, or you can find that information for sure on Instagram. To enter, make sure to share your project with hashtag #ShaperStudio, and that's closing tomorrow. So you've got one last chance to come up with something and submit it.
Oh, important addition, it doesn't have to be made with Origin.
Absolutely, right. Shaper Studio is a great SVG design tool that we use with our laser cutter here at the office. We use it with a vinyl cutter. It even works with certain other CNC machines. So any tool that you have, whatever you have, use it. And you know,
printer.
if you don't have any tools, even just a really cool Shaper Studio design could win as well. If you really knock it out of the park. So throw something together. You've got a day to do it, and you've got nothing to lose, that's for a fact, and you could win a Shaper Origin or equivalent Festool tools.
Yeah. All right.
All right, classic spindle swap.
Classic Mike with the spindle swap.
Need spindle holsters on your hip.
What do they call that sash? A spindle bandolier?
Oh, yeah.
Spindleier.
Or one of those beer can hats.
Coming out
With
quarter
a
three
spindle over each
from
ear.
Shaper Tools. Spindleier.
I wonder if he's going to let us keep this.
We have enough tables already, dude.
All right. Last pass of
Yeah.
that 1/8 inch, that long.
On this last clearance pass with the 1/8 inch bit, I just go full depth because I'm just cleaning out those corners. Just again, it's just making these corners as tight as possible.
What's that offset you're taking away?
0 for this one.
Nice.
We're doing 0.
Full depth. Time is money, huh?
I got stuff to do.
That's a chunky pass with an 1/8 inch cutter, but it's good to hear that somebody's doing it.
Yeah, and good thing to note, it helps that it's Redwood, but with those long, spindly 1/8 inch bits, it's kind of crazy how much they can flex, and that's why you got to take really shallow, or typically really shallow passes. But it looks like it's working out really well for him.
All right, that looks like it.
Nice.
That's a little tight. We'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
We got to hammer him in, though.
Yeah, we got to hammer him in. We're doing that next?
Yeah,
You
we
got
brought
anything
the
else?
glue over. You like Type Bond 2?
Sure.
Good enough.
Fine with me. I'm more of an
Like a-
ultimate glue guy, but that's fine.
Ultimate glue.
Ultimate Type Bond 3.
Okay.
That was great. Cool.
We got a little brush for you.
You guys are so sweet.
Sean's more of an Elmer's guy.
We got Sean over here filming some behind the scenes footage.
You got a bunch of cool footage earlier. I like this brush. This is cute.
It's an art brush, dude.
Yeah.
Those are like $1.
This is
And
nice.
they're very fine detail brushes.
Yeah, this is nice for really
They're
fine
good.
detail glue work.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, if we're doing box joints and stuff like that, I love having a
No, this is
tiny
great.
little brush.
This is great.
Yeah,
This
we
is-
have one of those big silicone glue smearers.
Yeah.
I can't.
I call it my
I
finger.
can't get down with that thing.
You can't?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
You don't like the glue smearer?
Schmear.
We have
Schmearer?
one of those. Yeah, I don't know.
The
It's
the
got like a
rollers?
spatula side.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
I
Yeah.
love those.
Not a fan. I love the brush.
Yeah, this is really finesse, really detailed glue work here. This is nice. It's bespoke glue work. All right, let's see here.
Those silicone brushes are fun if they're your brush and you decide to leave glue on them.
Let's not
Because
knock this
picking
off
off the
on
dried
accident.
glue is great. But
Oh,
in a shared
sure.
space, everyone does it,
When
and then it's just
everyone
annoying.
leaves the glue on. Yeah, right. You want that mallet?
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
That's pretty dang good. Beautiful. All right. Let me finesse this one here.
You ever tried not blinking or not like?
It's really difficult.
Really difficult.
It's really tough.
Is this that boring? You guys are talking about blinking?
Do you ever just fall asleep when Mike's putting bow ties in?
Watch Mike do bow ties and just pass out? It's not that bad. I mean, this stuff's super yellow. I haven't used Type On 2 in a long time. It's nice.
It is nice. So we were thinking maybe while you're gluing, we could talk about any other places that you've used Origin in a production way in your shop. Just because somebody was asking in the comments, we're
Yeah.
starting to
That's a
get
good
a little
question.
head
I mean-
start on the Q&A here.
So actually, I'm trying to think of another spot where we've done that. I mean, we had to do. It wasn't a huge production run, but just to get a repeatable mortise pocket for the same part for these shelves because we had an issue with the CNC. Honestly, like the CNC was down, so we needed to get the same thing. So we used that over and over again.
That's sweet.
So it was helpful. It was a small part. Didn't want to make a jig.
So what kind of mortise was that? I'm curious.
It's just to fit this joint together because they're an L-shaped shelf. We had to do like 50 of them.
Yeah.
So it's just a simple pocket. It's simple. I mean,
Interesting.
so yeah. It's just
So one thing
But
that
like-
we've found talking to people at trade shows and things is that where Origin really makes a difference in their shop is as kind of like the scalpel. You know, you can take it in to do one specific thing, and it doesn't really matter what that specific thing is. It's very low setup time.
Yep.
Pretty quick programming, if you could even call it that. You just have to make the 2D SVG. And yes, you do have to have hands-on with it, but you know, it can fit into any of these workflows very flexibly, which I think is pretty cool.
Or in the situation where you have a full-blown CNC, that thing's turning over parts and making you money, and you have a side gig that you want to do and not stop your full-bore CNC from doing its thing, Origin. But you still need that level of accuracy and this of reproducibility. Bust out your Origin.
Yeah, I've been seeing you do a lot of shop furniture lately, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're trying to. I'm trying to build things a little nicer in there, so they're. It's like my happy place. I try to go in there. I want to be like in a nice. That's very satisfying. Anyways,
Nice.
that was real nice. No, yeah,
Let's get the full overhead cam on that
building
one
nice
more time.
shop furniture is a thing that is a priority for me because I spend so much time in there. I want to walk into a place that's nice and clean and have nice furniture in there. So I'm trying to prioritize making new, nice furniture in there. So using we use the Origin for concealed hinges. I'm using like completely unnecessarily nice sauce hinges throughout the shop furniture. I mean, it's just,
That's awesome.
I just want to have that. So,
Yeah.
so we use it for that, and it's just nice to have.
Sweet.
Very cool. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining
everybody.
us.
We'll see you
Thank you,
next
Mike.
time.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Mike.
Appreciate it.
Catch y'all later.